Hi, I'm Anna Olsen here on A1R Psychic Network. Tonight, I have a guest with me on my show, Insights into Consciousness. This segment, I am doing a whole show on angels. And I'm so excited to have my good friend Karen here to talk about angels and her work with angels and how to get messages from angels and what that entails, because Karen has been one of my main mentors on working with angels. Before I started doing all of my readings for the public and everything, I knew that there were angels, but I didn't know the details. And so, lo and behold, I was provided with a great teacher and mentor who taught me a lot about angels. She pointed me in the direction of how to use messages from angels and how to really trust that they're there and that they're for us and for the highest and greater good, for messages from spirit, from the angel realm. So because there are so many myths about the angel realm and working with angels, and because there are so many questions that people tend to have about this topic, I really wanted to have Karen here with me on my segment tonight because she's such a wealth of knowledge about the topic. And it's just really great to have her here. I'm so happy she could make it. Thank you for being here, Karen. I'm really
thank you for
excited
having me.
come. So I just wanted to ask you a few questions about it so that people know and they're informed about how this works with the angels. And first of all, how did you realize that either what you did was a gift or it wasn't like most people, or when did you notice that it was just something different?
I first noticed that it was something different than the first time that somebody kind of criticized and said, "What do you mean that you hear angels?" And I thought, doesn't everybody? I just thought it was natural. So I always did, and so I that's when I realized that I was different. But that started when I was very young, and just has gone on from there.
So it started when you were really young, and it was basically a cross-examination, or I don't know, like a question that somebody had. What was the thought process in your mind at that point?
Well, when I knew that, I just knew something was going to happen because I was just informed. I was just told. And to me, that came very natural. And then it happened, and they wanted to know how I knew. And so I just said, well, because I heard it. I heard the voices. They've actually, have warned me, shown me signs, and just, things like that. So, yeah.
Right. And I know that you've given messages to me a few times, and you've shared with me a lot of the work that you've done with the angels, and it's always right on point. There's so much basically synergistic, I guess you could call it, those revelatory synchronicities that I always talk about. There's always the synchronization of correct timing every time with either a card or a message. And sometimes things will be showing up in our lives, and then you'll get a message from angels, or you'll get a message from angels and that thing will keep showing up in your life. So I've noticed that. And so I'm wondering, how is it that one would be able to communicate with angels? What would be your advice for how this process would go?
The first thing I think you have to realize is that we all have this gift, and it's just what I call a time of awakening right now. So when you like just simple things, it starts with simple stuff like, I need to turn the iron off as you're going out the door. Something is telling you to turn that iron off. So you go back, and sure enough, it's on. And so it's warnings, it's signs like that you make you realize that something else is there guiding you. It's just a form of guidance that helps you go along with everything in life, the littlest things. It's really quite simple.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really complex.
Okay. Well, that's good to hear, because I know some people think, okay, well, how do I get training to do this? And how can I work with the angels? And you're just saying it's really something, it's a communication line that everybody has. And so the how and the why is, I think, what most people really want to know. And you're saying that it's basically that little message that you hear throughout your day. Yeah. And how would somebody differentiate that from their own thoughts?
Well, a lot of times, even with journaling, you think that, when you journal, you basically go into, you say, I ground myself and I pray, mm-hmm. and then I just write whatever it is I hear and feel, and and a lot of times I don't even know what I'm writing until after, and I read it. And I read it afterwards, and I think, oh my goodness, it's just so perfect. And then I will pull a card afterwards, and the card always gives me the confirmation of what I've already been told. So it's like, see, we already told you. You got to learn to listen. Mm. And that's the bottom line, is that people just need to be quiet and still and listen and trust. So that's what I do.
That's wonderful. And I've always noticed that there is a peaceful humility about you when you do these communications and when you're really listening. I've always noticed that you get quiet and mm-hmm. you become very humble, not like you aren't usually, but I'm just saying, like, there's this peace that I can feel. Mm-hmm. And when it's sort of like when they say when heaven touches earth, there's just this really serene peace. And that's what we do as light workers, is we work with that highest and greater good, the positive vibe, I guess you could say, the positive positivity, the highest and greater good. It's love and above is what some people call it, or it just feels peaceful.
It's very peaceful. Mm-hmm. It's very peaceful, and that's the only way I can explain it too, because you do feel differently when you're in a situation where maybe things are very chaotic around you, and all of a sudden you go into the state of mind that's telling you what to say to these people that's helpful. So they're always kind and they're always good, and it's always a good thing. Mm-hmm. It's never mean or anything like that, or scary. It's all light. It's mm-hmm. all about light and love and all the good things in life.
Right. There are guardians, our helpers, our guides.
Yeah.
And I have a question about the angels. They say that the angel of death, or whatever, there's all these stories about the angel of death. I'm just wondering, are there certain angels that are assigned to help people cross towards the light?
Transition?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's certain angels that help you transition, because to me, when you see the angel of death, it could mean an ending to something that you're doing, mm-hmm. and you're going to be doing something else. So mm-hmm. it doesn't always have to do with people passing on and moving forward.
Okay. So you're saying that sometimes when they're talking about something that's ending, it doesn't have to be your lifespan. It could be the ending of a chapter of your life, a job. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's really good to know. And I'm just wondering, I've always wondered, are there angels that have different assignments, or do you know? I mean, I'm just curious, like, they're supposed to be Archangel Michael or Michael. They're supposed to be mm-hmm. Gabriel, Raphael. They each, Uriel. They will have these names and assignments from what I heard. And I know that you can go into a whole study about angels, but
there's a lot of them. And people think that, do I have one angel? Mm-hmm. But there's many. Okay. We have many. There's not just one. We are assigned a guardian angel, but there are many angels that are constantly surrounding us 24/7.
Okay.
24/7. So there are archangels that do certain things, like Archangel Michael. Archangel Michael walks with me a lot. He protects me. He's a protector, a great protector, and so they do have different assignments.
Okay. Are you familiar with Archangel Uriel? Because I just had an experience with that.
I'm trying to remember what it
And
is.
it's okay if you don't. I just thought I'd ask if you know if you're familiar.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I can't.
That's okay. I just, the other, and maybe you can kind of clarify for me. The other morning, I woke up and I was praying and I was asking, you've taught me to ask the angels for what you need.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was asking the angels for what I needed. And I had my journal, I was ready to write it down. And I feel my experience was that I had an experience with Archangel Uriel. And Uriel told me, the name, the assignment, and I Googled the angel, and all of the things that I was going through was like his assignment in throughout history and the Bible, and like even, not just the Bible, but just, throughout all the religions, his assignments were like exactly what he told me.
Oh, wow.
From what I felt, and when I say he told me, just to clarify for listeners,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying I heard it with my ears like I hear your voice. These are spiritual things that go on where I have a spiritual sense of what I'm hearing. The words come into my mind. I'll see certain things in my mind's eye. It's different than, like, let's say, a hallucination. So I was just go over that, because some people are like, what do you mean you saw it and you heard it, and why am I not seeing it and hearing it? Well, it's different than how I'm hearing and seeing you with my physical eyes and ears.
Exactly.
So, I think most people can relate to a spiritual experience where they either they feel something, like the peace, they got an idea in their head and they're not sure where it came from, but it came at just the right time. So do you have any experience with like how the angels look or how they appear?
Well, my highest self was a long oblong being, and your highest self usually comes to you when you're trying to when you're asking about your mission, because your highest self is everything that you are and ever will be. And so they are very tall, almost like I'm trying to explain what they could be explained, and it's kind of clouds. It's like a cloud shaped but oblong form. And one time, my husband took a picture of me while I was praying, and he didn't know I was praying, and I was asking about my highest self. And he came in kind of kiddingly and took a picture of me with his camera. And when we looked at the picture, the being was on the bed in front of me, and then just flew away, real quick. So
I saw that picture. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is really amazing. It was really amazing. I just love it when things like that happen. So yeah, they do have shapes. They'll never show up in something that would frighten you, or they always appear to you in ways that you feel very relaxed and comfort. They're just not frightening at all.
I notice I feel their presence most at my most difficult times. That's my experience. And then thinking back, I've started to realize that they've always been there, but now I just identify what I've been feeling all along, the more I learn about it. And that's, I think, key for a lot of people is we have so many parts of us that are multifaceted spiritually. There's angels, there's, our guides, there's our past loved ones. There are all these people in these, in the spirit world or these other dimensions. And my experience with angels, the more familiar I've become with them, and I had to do the work to get more familiar with them. Right. So just like FYI, we do have to work. We have to study. We have to pray and ask for help with this. Always. And we definitely, it's our job to draw closer to the things that we need. And, it just happens to be, at least for me, when the most that I'm really working on this is when I'm having the most difficult time, because that's when I'm really searching and needing that extra help. And my experience with the angels is that they have been these very strong. It's like they're gentle, but they're kind, but they're so incredibly strong. and powerful.
Powerful is a good word for it.
Powerful. It's like they're like nothing could permeate their energy. It's like it's hard to describe how they feel because they're so powerful, and they're so I don't know what would the word be.
Well, when you put yourself in what they call a shield around you, only love can go out and only love can come in. And that's where you feel the most power from all of the angels. And you have to ask them, to be with you, and you have to ask them to, um, guide you and help you feel that it's almost like a baby in a womb. It's that sweet and that gentle and that protected. Because little babies are very protected in their mom's wombs.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a very sweet and loving, and once again, birth is very powerful. So yeah.
I've heard of a lot of it. It's funny you say that birth is very powerful because I have heard a lot of stories about women while they're in labor, and they have very strong spiritual experiences during that time, dreams, visions. I have myself with my kids. And so that's interesting you say that because that makes complete sense. It's that protective sort of thing. Yeah. And so I just really love that I've learned more about the angels. It's really benefited me in my life. It has been great. The more I learn about them, I know even my husband has taught me some stuff about angels that I didn't know before. And that was exciting. I'm like, how do you know all this about angels? Apparently, he had been on a mission, and he taught me a lot too. So that was exciting. The more that I delve into different topics like angels, the more I realize how much everybody else not only understands what we're talking about and is familiar with it, but they can start having conversations with, with me, and people around us will start saying, well, actually, I am familiar with that because, and they can tell you how they've had an experience with it or that they've studied it and this is what they know. So I just love that it's a great conversation to have. It's the way that I see them is they are very tall, very strong in stature, but they're loving and they're gentle. They have this like a perfect balance. And I've also heard that they can be androgynous, which means like people can't really identify if they're male or female, so they don't.
Right.
And so that's another quality that I have been familiar with angels, and also have heard about, generally speaking. So that's another quality. Is there anything else? I know we have just like 4 more minutes. Is there anything else that you want to contribute or that you are thinking
just that as readers, when we do readings with angels, we always have to ask permission to speak to the person's angel. And that person has to give you the permission to do so, because angels don't gossip. So that you can't do that.
Okay.
So that's one of the kind of the rules, I guess.
Okay.
Of being a reader with angels and hearing them and speaking with them.
That's great.
Yeah, and a lot of times angels will come through when a person is really struggling with something. You can be sitting there, and all of a sudden they will help you give that person the guidance they need to move forward in love and release whatever it is, the struggles that they're going through. So that's always very helpful and kind thing to do. And that's what they are. They're very kind, sweet.
They're very kind and sweet, and they're protective. They're powerful.
Yes.
They are not just aiding us in this life, but they will be aiding us in the next.
Always.
And I believe that when we're at the end of our lives and we cross over, we pass on to the next life, that we're going to be very familiar with them. We're going to recognize them.
Yeah.
So we have just like 2 more minutes, but gosh, I could talk about this for another half hour.
I know.
Now, I also wanted to go over that selenite is an angel stone. It's a crystal that is very conducive to angels and angel energy. I have a big chunk of it here, so I'm just going to show that to our viewers. If you're watching, if not, if you're on the radio, bear with us. this is a big chunk of raw selenite, and this is known for angel energy and it's conducive to like giving you that angel energy. And I've worked with it. It's also very protective. It has all the same qualities of angels, which is really neat, and it can really provide a lot of those qualities into your energy if you want that energy in your life, your house, your home, your life. Mm-hmm. So that said, we have 60 minutes, and thank you so much for coming on today, Karen, and sharing this. I think it's so brave of you too, because it takes a lot to talk about these things. But I think people really need to know, and I really wish maybe I'll have you on another time too, if you would.
That'd be great.
Because I'd like to go.
Well, that's our job. That's our job. That's why we came back.
Right. That's true. So thanks so much for watching. I'm here every Thursday, 6:30 Pacific Standard Time, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time on A1R. I'm Anna Olsen. My website's at the bottom of the screen. You can always contact me for a reading. And what is your email address in case somebody wants to ask you questions?
It's angels123.kkaren@aol.com.
Thank you, Karen, so much for being here tonight. And I will see you next week here on A1R, 6:30 Pacific Standard Time. I'm Anna Olsen. Please let me know if you'd like a reading, and I can also contact Karen for you if you need to reach me on my website too. So we'll see you next week. Thanks so much for watching. Have a wonderful night.